start by saying that I am so grateful to be here and so grateful that you all came. You know, you didn't have to. I'm also really grateful to Emily and Molly and everyone who puts this on, because I think that this event is so important and so great. So I'm here to speak about chaos, which is funny. I wasn't sure if I should be offended that Emily was like, you do chaos. But I really love social media, so I get it. I really get it. And it's funny because last night, I had things to do to get ready. I had to be zen, about coming out here and talking. And all of a sudden my dog went nuts. I mean, she was like running around the house and it was like, oh God, what's going on? And then I saw it. And we had a chipmunk in our house. And I was like, what nightmare is this? I mean, this is the night before. At one point, I jumped on my counter because it was coming at me. My dog was chasing it to me. And then we got it out. I mean, that was really impressive. And so I feel like I am ready, like that's how we got ready for this. And how did we get it out? That's my wife. That's my wife and my dog. Pinecone. She's not that little and cute anymore. She's kind of ugly now. And and Lina got it out with fishing nets. She trapped it like that and got it out. So that was really good. So anyway, so I'm here to talk about social media, and Emily mentioned I have a lot of concerns about social media, including Russia. And I've done a lot of research about this, and I've done you dive deep and you're like, oh my gosh, they're all Russia and all this stuff. And then I read all the articles, and then did you know Russia's on Reddit now? Yeah, Reddit, YouTube, Google, I don't know, YouTube's Google. And so, I have a lot of concerns. I have a lot of concerns about, I have a 13-year-old sister, and she's all about social media. And what if, her identity is being shaped by, all of that. We all worry about that. But here's the thing. Social media has made such a huge, huge, huge impact on my life. And so I'm not going to talk about the problems, because I'm just going to assume that we all know social media is a problem, right? I mean, we all know it. So I'm here to, talk about maybe social media is not so bad. So that's Lina, that's my wife, that's my dog Pinecone. In terms of why social media is important to me, I actually reached out to Lina on social media. So this is the first message that I sent her. The first paragraph, don't pay attention to that. It's mostly me being like, I'm awkward and I really like you. But I'm gonna read the last sentence. I think you're very pretty and maybe we can be friends. I'd like that. I promise I'm not a creep. And I got her. So, Facebook messages, apparently they're not horrible. This is the one good thing that came from Facebook messages. We actually talked on Facebook Message for 2 weeks before we finally hung out. And the sad thing about the next message that I didn't put on here is that she was like, I love making friends, let's be friends. And I was like, damn, ugh. But it worked out, obviously. So social media has really helped me connect with people. And one of the really valuable ways that I've connected with people in Grand Rapids is through your social chat. And I know Jason's here. And it's funny, right? Because I met Jason in person today, just here. And that's true for a lot of people. I've met a lot of people on social media that I wouldn't have met otherwise. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I end up connecting with people on every social media platform, and then it's like, I feel like I know you, and I feel like, we're friends, even though I've never met you in person. So here's another example. This is a friend of mine. We're friends on every channel, except I've never met her in person until today. We met this morning. Here's the problem, though, with social media friends is Ashley. Her name tag said Ashley this morning. I noticed that. The problem is for some reason I have it in my head that I should be calling her Ruth. I don't know why. But we never met. And what reason do I have to be like, hey, what's your actual name? And so I really went off the name tag today. So I met these people through social media, and that means a lot to me. And the DNA of these relationships is a lot different than the DNA of relationships that I have in person. It's just inevitable. I mean, that's kind of how it happens, is that you end up connecting with people in different ways that you don't end up connecting with people in real life. And, you know, good or bad, that's just the reality of it. And these relationships mean a lot to me. Sorry, I get weird and need to take drinks. So this isn't the only, this is how I meet people apparently. And I have a friend, when I was in 8th grade, I went to a writing camp in New York. I don't even know why, but it was really great. And in my class, I was in a poetry class and I loved it. And I met these 2 girls and they were older than me, and I was like, oh, they're so great, I hope we're friends after this. But they're the kind of friends who you know you're not going to be friends with after this, and you will likely never see them again. But they had a really big impact on my life. So then after the camp thing, I ended up emailing a girl who was in my class, but we didn't really talk when we were there. Her name was Morgan. And so that was in 8th grade, and we have emailed all the way since. And it's really amazing because these emails means so much to me. I have to tell you that when I sit down to write her, I like close my eyes and try to get to a place where I'm not like nervous and freaking out. Not that like I'm nervous about her, but just, you know, day to day, I'm nervous. And so I try to zen out and I send her these emails, and I think that that's part of the reason why we have become, I would consider her one of my best friends, like top 3. And I've never met her in person. So this is what I imagine it would be like. That's her. I figure my dog would probably be there. My dog's not here, but I would like to bring her everywhere. You know, and it's interesting because, so we've been friends for a long time. You know, I don't even know, I'm bad at math, especially when I'm in front of people. And I've known her for a really long time, but we haven't seen each other since 8th grade camp. And so I'm in this really interesting situation where I'm like, I don't know if I want to meet her in person. Like, I don't know if I want to go hang out with her. She lives in Connecticut. Like, I don't know what would happen. And so the fact that this relationship means so much to me, and it's something that has happened over email, is really, really interesting because, you know, I think I have really bad social anxiety. I mean, I can do this, but I might not be super great one-on-one. And the social media and emails and kind of digital communication has really made it possible for me to form the relationships with people that I would like to have. It's really bridged the gap for me between, you know, I go out and I try to think, you know, this is something I care about, social media, it's something I care about, I go out and find these people, and I build relationships that just really, really mean a lot to me and kind of help me connect with people the way I want to. And I do that a couple different ways. So I manage the social Facebook group. Facebook groups are very interesting. I think they're probably the best part of Facebook because if you are in a good one, right? There's some that are like trash and horrible. But if you're in a good one, you end up creating sort of this community. And this is one that I manage. It's called Friends of Social Media. And I post stupid questions all the time, and I'm like, you know, how do you feel about your personal brand? You know, things like that. And it's been really great because I get to have these meaningful conversations with my friends, and all of them are people who are on social media in some way, but not all the same. So we have people who manage social media at nonprofits, government, universities, Herman Miller. We have someone who is actually studying social media and the way that it has, she's in her PhD program, and she's studying the way that social media is impacting how people understand climate change and the environment. And so, you know, social media and all these different ways, and we end up having these conversations. One of my friends actually is just managing her own brand, like illustration, you know, like she's on Etsy and all this stuff, and she's on Instagram, and she does these drawing challenges, and, you know, her like brand, it's very Halloween. She loves Halloween. She's all about it. And this was for September this year. The thing about this, like, you know, it's not something I would do. I'm a horrible drawer, but she's not. And so she manages these. What shocks me is that she every day, so obviously 30 days, every day she has over 20 people who are writing or drawing to this prompt. And so she has obviously cultivated this relationship with people online. And, you know, if it's Russia, they're not going to take the time to draw, right? I mean, presumably, who knows? So she's making these connections with real people who then will go and buy her pins or her, you know, prints or whatever. And so, you know, I think that social media provides people an opportunity to really show who they are and connect with people who are similar to them. I think groups are really valuable for that. She mentioned that she does WAG, you know, like you go and you walk people's dogs. I would love to do that, but I'm a little nervous about giving people a key to my house. And so, but she does it, and you know, it's a solitary thing. You go into the house, you have the dog, you take them for a walk, and you're on your own. But she's in a group that's a regional Facebook group for WAG, and she says it's like super, super great because they tell stories and they give each other tips, like, I don't know, you know, take the dog to the woods, and then you don't have to pick up its poop. I don't know. I assume that's what they talk about. And so that's been really meaningful for her. If anyone's into My Favorite Murder, the podcast, there's a lot of spin-off groups that are really great, and I am all about them. All about them. There's like Mitten Murderinos. There's Stay Sexy and Take a Turn About the Room. I'm in that one, and that's all about Jane Austen. That's a good one. And then there's also this one, which is one of my favorites. My Favorite Burgerinos. I love it. I really do. And it's funny because we all try to make connections between Bob's Burgers and murder, which is odd, but it works. So I have always been looking for ways to connect with people online, and I just do a lot of really weird projects. I kind of, you know, really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the way to say what I want to say using digital communications, because I really don't want to have to leave my house. And so I kind of do that. I try to form digital communications to do what I want. So let's see, let's get my pages. I have very cumbersome notes. So this next one that I want to tell you about, this project that I did, I hate blogs. I mean, I've tried so many blogs, and all of them are abandoned. They're all deleted, unfortunately. Whoops. And I just felt a lot of pressure with blogs because, you know, SEO and I don't care about that. Like, I just want to do what I want to do, and I don't want to like feel like, you know, are people getting to your website and what is your? I just don't care. I don't care. I just want to make this stuff, and then if you want to come see it, that's great. So I abandoned a lot of blogs, and it's like my MO. And one of the blogs that I did was called The Adventures of Baby, and I brought a prop. Sorry, this is awkward, but this is Baby. Baby's mouth's a little messed up, but Baby has existed in my life for a long time. I love Baby. Just delightfully strange. And I did this blog called The Adventures of Baby, where I would take Baby out and do weird things. And I realized how strange and kind of creepy this sounds. So I went back and I asked a friend of mine who, I worked at the student newspaper with him, and I was like, what was that like, you know? Like, is that as strange as it sounds now? Because it's kind of creepy. And this is what he said. He said, I remember trying to think of funny places to put Baby. I genuinely loved it. It was the perfect combination of silly and fun. So it wasn't creepy. That's my proof. But, you know, eventually I was like, no, really, this is actually kind of strange. And I ended up deleting that blog, and now it's totally gone. And he was like, is it still happening? And I said, no. And he was very sad about that. So instead, what I've done is I've found the way, yes, I found the way to communicate in a way that I like. And I swear this is just coincidence, I use MailChimp. And so I don't do it regularly, but I send email newsletter, and I've had this for about 3 years, and I love it. I love it because there's no pressure. If I want to send you an email, I'm going to send you an email, and if I don't want to, presumably you have no idea that I did not send you the email that I wanted to. So, and you know, in marketing, email marketing, they say, no, you have to, you know, stick with it. You have to send them on a regular basis. But when they're just you talking about how you didn't respond to Miss Rummel. It doesn't matter. So this has really created that opportunity for me to write what I want to write and not have to worry about, these things that we say are what, good blogs make. Instead, I get to create that. And what I like about emails is that it's very one-on-one. So when I send an email, I picture, of course I picture this, but I picture the person like, oh, here we go, we're gonna read Lucy's email, and it's very one-on-one. It's not something that, like George, random George is looking at, but it's just, I'm connecting with people, and it's really worked for me, and it's really been meaningful for me to be able to send these to people. It's weird how much it's grown, and I hope that, I think that people really enjoy it, because it is a little bit different than typical email newsletters. So really what it is for me is figuring out how do I connect with people the way I want to. And unfortunately, social media is where people are, right? I mean, it's where my grandma is, good or bad. It's where, people from high school are. It's where I find out about my 10-year high school reunion that got canceled because a bunch of people were like angry and freaking out. And that's tricky for me because I want to connect with people in this way. I believe in digital communications. However, I believe that Facebook is a garbage company. And so I sent Emily my slides, and I told her that I wanted like Facebook going into a garbage can, like it's a garbage company. And this is what happened, and I didn't ask her to change it because it's still true. Facebook is a garbage can. It is a garbage can where we put all of our crap, and it's terrible. And it's just really hard because you really can't get away from it if you want to connect with people in this way, no matter how much we don't like it. And so to me, especially with my experiences and kind of the digital communications that I choose to engage in, I think that the most important thing is that we evolve. And so we really need to evolve. We need to make the decision that this is not how we want to spend our time. Facebook is really designed an advertising company. That's all it is. And they are trying to get us, truly they do research on how they can get us to just keep scrolling and keep clicking. And so if we are more aware of the, kind of things we do on social media, inevitably we will move past it. And it's really easy to say like, boo, Facebook. But, Facebook has no incentive to change. Like, they can bring down democracy, but they're still like, keep clicking on that ad for Bagoo. And I'm like, hey, all right, is there a sale? And so I'm really cognizant of this and how, as a brand, I've done social media for work for a long time, and so I'm very cognizant of this because I think that brands have a responsibility to help change that landscape because they're the ones who are participating in the very problem that we have. They're the ones putting money into Facebook and basically not giving Facebook a reason to change. So brands have to change. And so I thought about it a lot, and I thought about how, I've been very aware of that for a long time. I worked at the student newspaper when I was in college, and, we wanted to tell a story, and so we thought of the best way to do that. And we had 2 weeks, it was in my sophomore year, and 2 things happened in 2 weeks. And I'm going to talk about the second week first. President Obama came to campus, and it was really cool. He was like talking about something, I don't even know. But it was really cool because we got to be there, and I was media, so I had like the pass, which I still have, and of course I do. And the managing editor and the assistant sports editor were like, okay, this is it. This is our opportunity. We're going to take video. And so this is the first video that we did. It's a motorcade coming in. And I was looking at it, and I noticed a comment. It's the only comment. And it says, you're dumb. The first car is, oh, there's a helicopter. It says, you're dumb. The first car is the one that the president's in, when we kind of just bypassed that in this video. Oh, yep, that's the one with the flags, and then we just keep moving along. We're looking at other things. Oh, yep. So the thing is that this video does exactly what it needs to do. We were not skilled. We had no clue what we were doing. But when we're able to show the motorcade in addition to the articles that we're writing, it provides a different perspective of what we wanted to show. And I think that that's why we embrace digital media. And a shaky hand, you know. But I was really, we were all very, very proud of this video because it added something to what we were trying to show. And, you know, we're a student newspaper, and this is back when, you know, college newspapers weren't doing much with digital media, and so this was a really big deal for us. The second thing that happened, I'm just going to let this play while I talk, because this next slide, we're not ready for it. So the second week, or the first week, we had a thread on campus that we had to respond to, and we went in and we were like, okay, we are going to update students on what's happening. And we all gathered in one place and we were like, this is it, this is our moment. And we had like the news editors going around, they were taking loops around the campus because it was all shut off, and we were like, we see nothing. I mean, it was all deep in campus. But we were updating on Facebook, and we ended up being the place where students in this, the residence halls that were locked down were able to see, or able to figure out what was going on, and that was really important. And so you end up finding the way that social media provides a connection with your audience that's just not possible otherwise. And so therefore it's not possible to get off Facebook because we're not all him, right? This guy, he took all of his companies off of Facebook, and that's really great, good for him. But the rest of us, especially brands, that's just not possible. And so there's been a lot of things that I've found. And what I found is that when we lead with values, when we lead with you know, what means something to our audience, we end up engaging with them more and we increase conversions. And so for me, the big thing that I want people to think about is how do we, as a brand, how do we offer something rather than asking for something? And I'm running out of time, so I'm going to skip this, but that's my alma mater, go Cats. At Herman Miller, when I worked at Herman Miller, we did Better World, which was our values. And what was nice about that was that we found that people engaged with our values much more than any other content. And that was across the board. We did like a 6-month campaign where it was just like, okay, we get it, you care about things. But still, by the very end, people were still engaging with it the most. Right now, I work for county government, and in case you didn't know, people hate government, like at every level. And I have come in and I'm said, and they gave me the road department Facebook because it was such a mess. The people were like, all of our audience is evil and we hate them all and burn it down and get rid of the Facebook, but it's the only way for people to connect. And so I have led with compassion, and I've really tried to put myself forward. I've been like, hey, listen, I have no idea what's going on the roads either. I mean, I wish we had more money, and I'm not that casual, but you know what I mean? And what I found is that it's working, right? So this is our DMs, and we're really, I think we're getting to a place, and I see the whole kind of atmosphere of this page really changing. Just because I'm putting my name on them, I'm saying, I hear you, I understand that that's frustrating, here's where we can go to fix that for you. And that's really made a difference. So before as I was thinking about this presentation, I really just wanted another picture of my wife. Before I was thinking about the role that social media's had, you know, with her and with making friends and all of that, before that I was like, hey, social media equals chaos. And I was like, because we all agree and we can all have examples, and it has meant that for me. I have had nightmare situations on Facebook, like at every turn in my life, and that's, you know, it's not, everyone has, I think, to some degree, just weird things that my uncle says to me that I'm like, that's not appropriate, or, you know, other strange things, you know. It's just, everybody has that, I think. So social media equals chaos for sure, but I think that what we have to remember is that when we spend time with it, when we really figure out what it is we want out of social media, and then we really think about how do we create that, I think that social media can actually be a real asset to us, and I think that it can really end up creating those connections with people, whether you're a brand or you're just you. That's really important. And so ultimately, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of social media, and I think that we just have to evolve with it. You know, Yik Yak existed once, MySpace existed once. They will always exist in some degree, especially as long as we're on computers. And so we just have to determine what do we want, and then we have to force these companies to meet us rather than, you know, the brands that are going to spend money on them. So that's what I got. Emily gave me the wrap it up.
Thank you, Lucy. I'm going to kick off our Q&A with a question. I think probably most folks here do what they do in their day job, somewhat also when they're not in their day job, like you do. Can you talk a little bit about, whoa!
I paid for that.
Consider this a conversion. How do you manage kind of protecting your mind, your energy, your heart for what you want to do for yourself versus for work?
Ooh, I love that question. So I am very, very particular about what my presence on social media is. I am a real huge loser in the sense that I created a PowerPoint of what each of my social media channels means to me and what I want to put out on it. So it started by listing my values, like empathy and calm and, I don't know. And so then using those values and apply them to certain platforms that I've always kind of done, but being very specific about those, that has allowed me to make sure that my social media is intentional rather than just like spaghetti dinners, right? And another thing that I do is I'm also very cognizant of the time that I'm spending there. I have a plugin on my Chrome that shuts me down after 10 minutes on either Twitter or Facebook. And then you put your words at the top of like what you want it to say when it shuts you down, and mine is let's not. And so ultimately, really being conscious of, is this helping my mental health and my physical health? I can only sit inside for so long. And so really it's just making sure that I'm aware of the time that I'm spending there and what the purpose of that time is.
We got Jeffrey with a microphone.
Hi everyone. Any questions from the audience?
Run. Oh, there's another bird. Did I told you? Nope, there's another one. That one's my friend.
Hi.
Hi.
So, which platform do you think is like creepier and more threatening, Twitter or Facebook?
By far Facebook. I mean, I know that Twitter has its problems, but Twitter's also the way that I find out what's going on. I'm very, very tuned into politics. I didn't talk about any of that right now. I'm curious if the Kavanaugh vote's happening. But I've learned a lot on Twitter. It's been how I connect with the activism groups that matter to me. I follow just tons of technology reporters for New York Times and Wall Street Journal, and so Twitter has really been valuable to me. And so Facebook to me is by far, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that Facebook refuses to take accountability for the role that it's had and sort of truly, I believe, the degradation of our culture. And as long as Facebook's not ready to make major changes to its business model, in my opinion, Facebook just isn't there for us. Facebook's there for the people that are giving it money. And so to me, that is the one that I would get rid of first. But of course, that's where the most engagements happen. So that's the problem. Who else?
Hey Liz.
Hey.
Hey. So my background is teaching and coaching and working with a generation that's grown up on social media. What sort of things, what sort of best advice would you give to my players or my students so they can engage with social media in a healthy way while also learning real life social skills and feel a little bit more control? I think they the anxiety comes from they're putting all this stuff out there and not able to control responses, and just wanted to get your take on that.
So what I always tell people is very similar to what I tell brands, which is, what do you have to offer? And if we're not cognizant of thinking about what as individuals we have to offer the world, and we're just spaghetti dinners. I don't know why I keep mentioning that. But if we're not putting out something of value, then we're adding to the noise. And that's what Russia's taking advantage of. They're taking advantage of the amount of noise on social media, and so making sure that we're very intentional about the space there. And then what also that does is that allows individuals, and especially younger individuals, to think about their value. and to think about what it is that they can show. And so I'm a big fan of those accounts where it's like, one of my friends is doing his PhD in phycology, which is the study of fresh water. And so he takes these really awesome pictures inside of his microscope, and then he's really into like collage. So he adds these like weird things in his pictures of phycology. And I think that what's so valuable about that is it's able to show, it brings phycology into my life, and it creates an interest in phycology in my life. So I really encourage people to think about their value, think about what they put into the world, especially younger people who are used to this. And the thing is if they're used to this, then they also know how to make sure that they are creating safe spaces. So like, I'm a big fan of, having lists, and then you kind of can filter people out of your Facebook and put them in the list and only look at your grandma's Facebook page when you're emotionally ready. And so also using the platforms as they are designed so that they can help you rather than create that anxiety and make you question yourself and what that value is. I love to talk, but not in person, only on social media. So I'm always talking about these things. I'm really trying to have these conversations on my social pages, especially on Twitter, and especially, I write a lot about Russia, and I have this newsletter, and so if you're interested in that, I definitely would love to engage about it. Usually I'm just talking to myself, so definitely feel free to reach out to me. I think that these issues are really important, and especially as we have such division in our country, and I feel very strongly that social media has fueled that. And I think because of that, we have to change how we do social media. We have to, and the companies aren't there to help us. And so we have to make that decision, and we have to decide, how do we want these companies to serve us? Because social media should never be influencing us. We should be influencing social media. So definitely